What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So we heard that you guys in the UK have been experiencing a heat wave yet again, and we know just how brutal UK heat waves can be, particularly because most homes, and I believe a lot of businesses, don't have air conditioning to escape the heat. And then the homes are built to retain heat. And so unlike homes here in the US that usually cool down rather quickly at night, at least most homes, in the UK, most homes seem to retain heat for a much longer period of time. And so you guys don't ever get reprieve from the heat when you're having a heat wave. And so I can only imagine how brutal that must be to experience that, you know.
And I think this is like the fourth or fifth time this has happened this summer.
I believe I saw that. So you guys are dealing with yet another one.
Yeah, and on the thumbnail of this video, what made us want to watch it said why this isn't just another hot summer.
Yes.
So what's different? What's going on?
This doesn't seem to be just about the current heat wave. I think they're probably going to talk about the current heat wave because it's going on, but it's also why the UK isn't ready for extreme heat.
It's hot again. We're living through one of the hottest summers on record. Heat wave is following heat wave. Records are being broken. There are wildfires. Schools have been sending children home. Public transport's no fun.
And if you're sleeping well through this, you're doing better than me.
It's shaping up to be one of the hottest summers on record in the UK. This summer is a long way out of the ordinary, and it's posing a lot of questions.
Not least, what's causing these heat waves? Can we expect more of them? And are we ready for that?
Can our homes, offices, schools, hospitals, transport cope with heat like this?
We're going to get into all of this.
Along the way, we'll see children being taught in World War II tunnels.
Wow!
It's lovely and cool down there in the tunnels.
Wow!
But it definitely can't be said of conditions here in the playground.
We'll learn how temperatures are measured. We'll get a briefing on all the jargon being used. We'll hear some of the skepticism about what's happening. And an expert in climate modelling will look into the future for us.
I never thought we'd see 40 degrees in a forecast, let alone playing out in the UK.
I should mention I'm in Wisley, in Surrey.
Earlier this summer, it recorded 36 degrees Celsius, the highest temperature ever recorded here in June.
But before I go any further, there are a couple of things I need to be clear on.
How hot is this summer compared to other summers? Is this top 5, top 3? You know, he didn't say it was the hottest.
No.
So I know this is a brutal summer, so how hot is it compared to your average summer?
But before I go any further, there are a couple of things I need to be clear on.
First, this is the average global temperature. It's going up. The data on this is conclusive. Second, humans are causing this. Here is carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere over thousands of years, and then in recent decades.
Wow.
What?
That's crazy.
Okay, that is that's
CO2 levels.
Wow, that's insane.
UN's leading climate body puts it, human activities, principally through emissions of greenhouse gases, have unequivocally caused global warming. And the Met Office says that is leading to more frequent and more intense summer heat waves.
So that's clear, but I want to better understand some of the features of heat waves and some of the language that we're using around them.
I'm going to get help throughout this video. First up is Ben Rich from BBC Weather.
Right, Ben, first things first, we're all talking about heat waves, but I would quite like a definition of one.
So a heat wave here in the UK is 3 days in a row of temperatures above a threshold, which varies depending on where in the UK you are. So 25 degrees across Scotland, Northern Ireland, Western England, Wales, to 28 degrees in London and the home counties.
Okay. I wanted to look that up real quick. What's 25 and 28 degrees Celsius?
25 Celsius to Fahrenheit, 77 degrees.
Wow.
And 28 is 82-ish.
You know, it's so interesting how the heat has to feel different in different areas because
here that would feel like, dang, this is like really
77
nice
or 82 is like, that's like a nice spring day.
82
here.
is starting to get warm.
Yeah.
But 78 or 77, whatever it is.
Yeah, that goes to show you that there is a major difference in the way you're feeling heat in different areas. And
just if you don't experience it much at all, then it would feel hot.
But I think the biggest thing we're seeing is the fact that the buildings retain heat better over there. They're built to retain heat. And so when you get warm days, it doesn't cool down at night. You don't get that reprieve.
That's the worst
Yeah.
at night when you can't get any relief from it.
Yeah.
'Cause then I can't sleep. I'm
Oh, I know.
miserable.
Yeah, I feel for you guys going through that during the heat waves, because I know that, like, when we haven't had air conditioning and we've lived in places that, because it just stayed warm like throughout the night, and it would be like 90 degrees Fahrenheit in the bedroom in the middle of the night. It's like brutal. You're in a puddle of sweat, and it's just that it does not feel good.
No, it does not. By the way, I looked up 36 Celsius to see what that was. It's about 97. It's like 96.
So that's hot.
Yeah.
That's hot. And without reprieve, that's what makes that, again, so brutal. You can deal with 97-degree temperature if you can go and escape into the air conditioning, or your house cools down enough at night. But like when you don't have that ability to easily do that, that changes the game.
What's a heat spike? We're hearing a lot about them.
Yeah, so a heat spike is where the temperature climbs very, very quickly over just 1 or 2 days. So maybe just in a couple of days, the temperatures might climb by 5 to 10 degrees. We can find ourselves in periods of hot weather very, very quickly.
But are heat spikes more common now than they would have been 100 years ago?
There are some factors that do seem to be making them more likely. When we see prolonged dry spells, which are becoming more common with climate change, well, dry ground, so what we've got at the moment, you can see here the grass around
Dead
us
grass,
just looks
yeah.
yellow, very, very bad condition. When the ground is wet, some of the sun's energy goes into evaporating the moisture, but when the ground is dry like this, then the sun's energy is all able to go into heating up the ground and heating up the air.
That's
giving us
interesting.
Those higher temperatures, those heat spikes.
What I would think is that you have the moisture on the ground, it evaporates and creates this muggy, humid feeling,
Yeah,
which I feel like that would be worse, but maybe I'm wrong on that. Sounds like I am. You know, like, 'cause I know,
That's
like,
what I always thought too. Though.
after a rain and it becomes hot and sunny,
It's worse. Than
it
was
feels so
before.
much worse than if
Yeah.
it's dry and then it
Yeah,
gets
I
and it's
agree.
hot and sunny.
Next thing I want to ask you about are heat domes.
So a
Heat
heat
dome.
dome is one of the main ways in which a heat wave can develop. And a heat dome is essentially just a big area of high pressure plonked on top of the same area. It sits there for a long period of time. The air underneath that area of high pressure descends, it compresses as it reaches the ground. That causes it to warm and dry out. And so as that process continues day after day, the temperatures are just able to climb. There is some evidence that climate change in Europe anyway is making these heat domes happen more frequently.
Okay, so we've looked at the key features of heat waves and we've seen how they connect to climate change.
By the way, I don't want to keep pausing, but like just looking at the still of him, I would have guessed he's in Australia or something. I don't know why.
Maybe the grass.
Maybe.
We're used to seeing the aisles,
Very lush greenery.
right? So
Yeah.
seeing it like this is a
Yeah.
little bit different than what we're used
It
to
looks
seeing.
like a totally different place.
You can tell you guys are definitely having some pretty bad heat this summer just off the
Yeah.
grass alone.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've looked at the key features of heat waves and we've seen how they connect to climate change. And all of this puts us into new territory, as the numbers from this year are showing us. Already, 2026 has given us 5 heat waves for some of
Wow.
the UK. Overnight temperatures at record levels, and for the first time on record, temperatures of 35
First
degrees or
time
higher in May,
on
June,
record.
July, and August.
Oh, all 4 months. You guys are
Wow.
having. This is the first time all 4 months have hit this temperature or higher.
Ever? That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Now, lest there's any doubt,
Well, that looks
none
lush.
of this is normal. Not that everyone accepts that, and even some of those who do are saying, well, what's the fuss about? We've gone through thousands of comments under BBC News articles, and
It's a
not
warm
hard
day,
to find
calm
some who are sceptical about the heat waves. First, there's this. One person writes, yes, it's hot, that's because it's summer. There are plenty of comments like this. There are lots of references to 1976 as well. Now, I was around, though I was a bit young to remember 1976, but I've heard plenty about it. It had one of the hottest and driest summers Britain had experienced. There were weeks of intense heat, water shortages, and severe drought. It's the benchmark of hot summers for those of us of a certain age. But just because 1976 happened doesn't mean that this year is just another hot summer. The temperatures this year are particularly high and frequent, and they're part of a broader pattern. Globally, the last 11 years have been
the 11 warmest on record.
What?
Wow.
What's happening now is
Wow.
not the same as 1976. Here's our next
11
comment, which
warmest on
reads,
record.
it's called weather. Sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold. Another reads, it's a warm day. Calm down.
That's like the start of a poem.
Definitely calm, but this weather is a cause for concern. More than 2,700 people may have died from heat-related causes in England and Wales in May and June.
Just
Wow.
The June heat wave has been linked to over 14,000
Oh my
deaths.
goodness.
A&E demand hit a record high in July. The NHS describes unprecedented pressure this summer, with the heat contributing to an increase in admissions. And red heat health alerts, such as the one in June, indicate a risk to life for even the healthy population. This heat can be dangerous. In some cases, it can lead to dehydration. In others, it can apply extra pressure to the heart and lungs. In more severe cases, it can lead to heat stroke.
I've dealt with a lot of that. I've like literally passed out multiple times in my life from being overheated.
Really?
Yeah. Like I did it, like I used to sing in the choir in school, right? Believe it or
Well,
not.
this is a little different. This isn't weather related. That's
No,
stage light related.
But my point is, and I've done throughout my life, I've done a lot of work outdoors and stuff, and
Yeah.
I've had to be very careful. I'm someone that seems to get overheated quickly, is what I'm getting at, and so the sun, the heat, it can
Yeah.
be very brutal.
Our type don't handle the heat very.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Our pasty type.
Yeah, that's true. But actually, I get a little bit more tan than I think you do if I go out in the
probably.
sun enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, it can get really brutal and it can get very dangerous. You got to be very careful because
Yeah.
a lot of people don't take it seriously. They go out and they don't drink water and they just stay out in the heat. And
Well, and a thing we learned in another video we did on one of the UK heat waves this year was what was the term, like, not cold water shock or something.
Oh, yeah.
Where you want to get relief from this heat that you're experiencing,
Yeah.
but the water hasn't warmed up enough, and so your body goes into shock and you drown.
we heard about that. That was happening in like May, maybe June. I wonder if August the water is finally
I'm wondering
warm
because
enough.
you've had a hotter summer.
Maybe the water is finally warm enough so you don't have that problem.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
For some, this isn't just a sunny day. Something else that sometimes
Man,
gets
look how
questioned
brown.
is how temperatures are measured, how reliable all of the data is. Here in Wisley, there's this Met Office weather station, and as I've been hearing, there are a lot of rules as to how these types of weather stations are set up. Mark Gush has the details. Thanks for having me, Mark. Just show us around what we've got here at the weather station.
This is where we measure temperature and humidity. And if you look inside, you'll see the temperature sensors on that side and the relative humidity sensor on that side. Very important that they're always housed within this Stevenson screen. It's literally this wooden box mounted at a particular height, always painted white to be reflective, an angled sun shield on the top, and it's got these vents, these louver vents that allow sufficient movement of air
Horticulture Society.
into the Stevenson screen, but doesn't interfere in terms of wind or direct sunlight.
Who checks you're doing this right? Because some people have asked questions during these heat waves this summer about whether we can properly compare what you're doing here with other stations around the country.
The Met Office regularly conduct calibration checks on all the equipment. That ensures a consistency of measurement back through the time of weather station monitoring.
So, temperature sensor inside a white slatted box called a Stevenson screen, 1.25 meters off
Never
the
heard of
ground,
that.
I haven't
slanted
either.
roof, door facing north, so the instruments aren't in the sun. If the first thing I wanted to do was to better understand these heat waves, how we define them, how we measure them, well, the second part of the equation is how prepared we are to deal with this heat. As you're no doubt well aware, homes in the UK don't have AC. Some offices do. Thankfully, the BBC Newsroom is one of them. But we've all been experiencing, haven't we, how many buildings and public transport just aren't set up to deal with heat like this.
Yeah.
Yes, AC would help, but it's not some sort of magic bullet that would resolve all of the challenges. And so in the short term, we've all had to improvise, haven't we? Whether it's with fans or shutting curtains or mobile AC units and so on. And there was one example of improvisation that we heard about and thought, We need to go and see that.
So a mobile AC unit, is that
It was
like
what we had upstairs at our old house.
that's what I'm thinking.
Like a window unit, basically.
So I'm curious, guys. This summer being so hot, do you know people personally in the UK that have purchased an air conditioning for the first time, whether it's putting in a whole house system or gotten one of the portable units?
I think it's more likely if someone would probably get a portable unit or like a window unit.
I heard that air conditioning purchases in the UK can be a little harder to come by because there's just not as much availability of the units in the first place.
Wow.
And I'm guessing there's probably not nearly the amount of HVAC companies out there because there's not as many people to service.
But
Yeah. So I'm really interested in kind of learning what's going on with that type of situation. If air conditioning is becoming more
common or still not really.
Yeah.
Underneath this secondary school in Kent, down these steps, something built
It's
during
in
the
the
Second World War
school.
is being used again.
Well, below, I guess.
This is extraordinary. There are different tunnels in various parts of the school grounds, and
That's
there
cool.
are classes going on within them.
Oh, wow.
Oh, they've got little benches set up.
It was this summer we went, this is crazy not using it for the students because it's so cool. It's like an air-conditioned room to come down here. So this summer we've have one class in our back tunnels, one in the front tunnels. There's no Wi-Fi, there's no technology, but they can come down and have a lesson.
That's cool, man.
Did you,
It's a good
did
way
you
to
ever
repurpose
imagine
it.
you would be using these tunnels because of heat?
Never. And it didn't even occur to me that we would.
So I just want to say, not only is this a great way to escape the heat, but potentially, if they take advantage of it, it's a good way to immerse them in the history of what these tunnels were built for in the first place. You know, like, I'm one of those people that I learn really well. I'm very hands-on, but like number one, I'm visual. That's why I love learning through video more than audio and books. I do enjoy reading. I enjoy listening to things, but I learn the best from seeing stuff.
Yeah,
and then hands-on. Like if I'm a student, learning about what the tunnels are for and being able to actually go down in there and experience it helps me retain the knowledge that I'm learning. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm melting half the time and I feel like I'm going to evaporate.
And when you're down here, is it easier to concentrate? Is it
Yeah.
What about the heat itself? Do you talk with each other about why it's so hot?
Climate change and global warming is making it hot. And it might hot summers, but then we're dying of heat by the third day. So it's being cooked alive. Literally being cooked alive. Yeah.
It might be cool in the tunnels, but there's one building here, this one, that's getting so hot that some of the classrooms can't be used.
And we've got a stairwell here, which is about the worst ever.
And you're just not able to use some of this?
No, not at all.
Oh, it's like a greenhouse.
When you joined the school, would it ever have been the case that you would not use this block?
No, it's only been the last couple of summers. So this is just one of the rooms. The blinds are all down, but you can just feel the heat. It's just incredibly hot. You can't work in here.
No, this doesn't feel viable.
No. So all the lessons up here are re-roomed because there's no way.
It's probably just how long have I been in here? Like 30 seconds or something, and I can feel the sweat on my brow.
Yeah, that'd be hard to concentrate.
Schools, hospitals, offices, public transport, house builders, and more are all having to consider if they're going to need to adapt to deal with our changing climate. For example, the Department for Education has pledged £710 million towards upgrading school buildings in England. That includes measures to help increase resilience to climate change. Adaptation is the word used to describe updating our buildings for a changing climate. And there's work to do. Emma Howard-Boyd is an expert in this.
We're just not ready for the environment, the weather that we're experiencing right now. Heat waves and the things that coincide with heat waves are just becoming ever more present. It's very clear that heat waves and the recent heat waves we've been experiencing in the UK have taken people by surprise. And we're now playing massive catch-up.
So if we were to make a checklist of things that are the priority to do for the country as a whole with reference to buildings and heat, what would be at the top of the list?
I think there are things that we can borrow from other countries that have been incredibly effective, and also borrow from the past. So using awnings, using shading, using the way that air can circulate.
Every little thing matters.
Buildings,
It
the
all adds up.
materials we use. We need to stop seeing this as a cost, but also and seeing this as an investment in keeping the country running, keeping the country safe to live in.
Okay, let's think about where we've got to. We've looked at how to define and measure heat waves and at how they connect to climate change. We've also discussed how ready we are for more of them. But there are two other things I'd like to look at too. The first is this. One person under a BBC article writes, "Is no one aware that the El Nino weather phenomenon is happening right now?" Well, yes,
What's the other?
El Nino is
Nino
happening,
and
but it's not
what's
the
the other
reason
one?
these heat waves are happening. I checked in on this
Can't remember.
with Ben Rick.
La Nina, I don't
El
know.
Nino, of course, is this naturally occurring climate phenomenon in the Pacific Ocean. You get very warm water pooling over the eastern side of the Pacific, trade winds disrupted in the Pacific. It can have a big impact on global weather patterns. In fact, the main effect that El Nino has in the UK, or can have, is to give us colder weather later in the winter. It's more of a winter phenomenon for us. So this heat wave, no, is really not down to El Nino.
So it's not El Nino. And then finally, to the question hanging over this summer, is this how it's going to be? Well, global carbon emissions are still at record highs. The average global temperature is still going up. So what's coming our way? Professor Liz Bentley of the Royal Meteorological Society can answer that.
We've seen our climate change already in the UK. We've got more extreme heat events, so they're becoming more frequent, more intense. So those temperatures are record-breaking when they happen, and they're more persistent as well. They hang around longer.
So I'm curious, guys, if you go back throughout your life, do you feel like it has definitely been worse summers lately, like over the last,
Several
has it gotten
years.
worse and worse and worse over the decades? Or is it something that's just fairly recent? You know, here I feel like it's back and forth. Some summers we get very hot. Other summers that, like this summer, is very mild compared to what I feel like it normally is.
Yeah, overall.
It took forever for us to actually get into what I consider summer.
Which I was so excited about because we usually get robbed of spring weather. But
Yeah.
this year we actually had a full spring. And even into the start of summer, it felt somewhat mild. So.
Yeah, now it's really muggy and humid, but a lot of that's probably the corn sweat.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about that again.
And that's only going to continue to get worse, so more frequent, more intense, and more persistent. And that's becoming the new norm in the UK.
No chance this is just an anomaly, an unusually hot summer?
No, I think confidence around heat is very high. We know as our global climate warms, then we see more extreme heat events right around the world.
Do you ever have a moment where you just stop and think, I can't believe I'm looking at these numbers?
Absolutely. Every time you see them in the forecast come in, you know, as I say, I never thought we'd see 40 degrees in a forecast, let alone playing out in the UK.
40's
And we'll
around
see 40 degrees
100
again
or so,
with the climate
I believe.
models. So
Isn't it?
in the next couple of decades,
100
we'll get the
Fahrenheit?
mid-40s. We're going to break
Mid-40s.
Europe in the coming years ahead as well. So these numbers are kind of, well, very scary, and as for me, just
40 is
unbelievable
104.
that they're starting to play out now as our climate
it's hot.
continues to change.
This then is what the future holds. A future where heat waves are likely to be more extreme and more frequent. Saying it ain't so isn't going to change that. For years we were told how carbon emissions would change our climate. Now those warnings are coming to pass. Based on all the available evidence, summer heat waves are the new normal. And we're not ready for this. From farming to transport to hospitals and schools, we're going to need to adapt to our new climate. As we're seeing, many different aspects of our lives are struggling as the temperature goes up.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was eye-opening. I mean, it's unfortunate. I feel for the kids specifically in
Yeah,
school.
and the teachers who have to try and teach
Yeah,
them that.
and it's really awesome that some schools have that ability to go underground during this. But I really hope that they can start resolving some of this heat issue.
Adapting and like making it better because
Yeah, and also you guys at home. I mean, you know, I'm sure many of you have just dealt with it for many summers, but if it really is becoming much more frequent and the heat is lasting for much longer, I feel like at some point, you know,
something's gotta give. Like,
yeah, because you can deal with some really bad hot heat and not very good sleep for a few days, maybe a week. But if you start having it for weeks and then months at a time, that's when it's going to, you know, get really, really, really hard.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's already very hard for you guys that are dealing with that at night. At night, again, like the daytime temperatures, you know, when they're hot, it's not fun. Right. And trying to work and trying to, you know, learn and this and that. But like to me, especially, it would be the nighttime temperature because we've dealt with that before. Yeah. We've been in buildings, you know, we've had places where we didn't have air conditioning, and during the summer they would heat up and
no airflow.
No airflow.
It's just trapped in there.
And that is a horrible way to try to sleep. You don't get good sleep during that. So
all that to say, we feel for you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Hope that, you know, you're not experiencing the worst of it.
Let us know in the comments, guys. Do you feel like what they're saying here you've experienced personally? Do you feel like your temperatures have gradually had more heat waves more often over the number of years since you were a kid or whatnot? Do you feel like the summers today are worse than when you were a kid? And if so, have you started doing things to mitigate that heat, or are you planning on doing things to start trying to mitigate that heat?
What's the solution here?
Yeah.
What can be done?
Like I was saying earlier, I'm really curious to know how air conditioning sales are going as well in the UK.
Yeah.
Based off of how much we're seeing from afar, it seems like the heat is so bad this summer. I imagine that it's
definitely been an increase.
Yeah. So anyways, guys, I think that's it for today. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please click that like button. Feel free to drop your comments or suggestions about this video or others. And don't forget to subscribe to continue to follow us on our journey. Until next time, peace.
Bye.